Welcome to Western New York Entrepreneurs Unleashed, the podcast that unveils the remarkable stories of local business owners running 7, 8, and even 9-figure organizations. We dive into the personal journeys that allow these inspiring leaders to live their best lives. Western New York Entrepreneurs Unleashed will offer you invaluable insight, one captivating story at a time. Brought to you by Entrepreneurs Organization of Western New York.
Hello, everyone. This is David Searns, and I am the host of Western New York Entrepreneurs Unleashed. Today should be a lot of fun. I have a real treat personally because I get to interview somebody who's not only just a great individual, but also happens to be my forum mate, which in Entrepreneurs Organization means we get together every month and we have this small group where we talk about what's really going on in our lives. And we discuss what are called 5% issues, the top 5% of our emotions, positively or negatively, and what's causing them, and we help one another out. Now, I promised Jim that we're not going to be disclosing any of his 5%ers today on the show unless he chooses to bring them up. But Jim, I do have to tell you, you have a great distinction on the podcast.
Uh-oh.
So we have a company that helps us to do some research and provide background information. And you were officially the first person they reported back to me and said, this guy's a ghost. I can't find anything about him. So I want to congratulate you because in today's digital era, to be difficult to track down is a heck of an accomplishment. So Jim Kuryak, welcome to the show and tell us how you managed to be relatively hidden online in today's world of no privacy.
Because my part-time job is a CIA agent. So
well, you just blew that. So Jim, just for everybody listening, if you wouldn't mind, share a little of your backstory. Tell us a little bit about Jim.
So a little bit about me. I'm not sure where you want me to go with that, but been married for 33 years. I kind of got into this business in a roundabout way. So I own an insurance agency, and I started out of college in a financial analysis program with M&T Bank. So I was going to be doing bank lending and so forth. So I was doing a lot of financial statement analysis. The banking world was very boring, and I told that directly to Bob Wilmers a couple of years ago when I was fortunate enough to have lunch with him, and just told him that it was slow. You either had to die or retire to move up in the bank. And it was, I was only 23, 24 at the time, and I want to move around. So I got a job doing something similar for a specialty division of an insurance the bonding department in an insurance carrier. So I was doing a lot of financial statement analysis for contractors. So we're doing a lot of surety credit, and did that for a couple of years. And I kind of liked the interactions with the clients that I dealt with. And I liked going out and meeting them. And actually my father-in-law encouraged me to try to become an agent. He goes, I think you do a good job with it. So I found an agency, the one that I'm with right now. Paul Babbitt was the gentleman who was the owner at the time, and he made it work for me to come over. So, at the time I had a house, a mortgage, student loans, a car payment. And I just told him, look, I just can't come over and start on commission. I've got to have something more than that. And he was able to put it together for me, and it worked. That was back in 94. So, I'm just about 30 years into this thing.
That's fantastic. And I don't know if you appreciate how extremely rare it is to have an individual who not only spent most of their most of their career in the same industry, but spent most of their career at the same firm. So what made you such a loyal team member?
I think that's, I think growing up, that was one of the things that was instilled by my dad. He was loyal, probably to a fault. And sometimes maybe I am as well. And it was just one of the values, being loyal to people that do well by you. And so it's just one of those things. I enjoy what I do. I like what I do, and that makes it a lot easier.
That's fantastic. Now, one of the things that I've observed is you're a really good relationship builder. Is that one of the things that has made you successful in your career?
I think so. I think one of the things I think it isn't, I think it's a life thing. It's not just business or personal, but just treating other people how you want to be treated, right? I mean, I think that's the big thing. And I figure, if I can do that well enough, that fulfills my life, right? Because I get to meet, you know, people like yourself, Dave. I got to meet a lot of really nice, cool people, and I really enjoy uh, like what I do when I get to meet people and go to see their businesses, and you walk in, and you go, oh, this is what you do. Like somebody does it, right? All the different things that are done in the world, and you just get to see it. So I really enjoy that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, one of the things I think may be valuable for entrepreneurs listening to the podcast is that you've grown up and you spent your whole career in an incredibly competitive industry where it's hard to stand out, hard to differentiate. So, how do you grow an agency? How do you drive sales when you're in a business that your product in general looks and sounds a lot like everybody else's?
Well, I think it's just like anything else. It's if people get to know you and they know that you're going to do your best to take care of them and try, I think that's the number one that people want, right? They just want someone who's going to respond, that's knowledgeable and can understand what they're trying to accomplish. And if you can just be a part of that, I think that's what does it. Yeah, there's like you said, there's tons of lots of places to go. And one of the things that Paul Babbitt instilled in me was, you know, is the service. Talking to people, getting out there, seeing people constantly. Because he said, if they can put this in a vending machine, you're not going to be needed. And and we're kind of that. That was what he told me back in '94. And then along comes the internet, and there's a lot of places to go. But what's interesting is, on the, like, say, personal line side, is you get a lot of people that go online, and I don't necessarily know that they don't realize what they're buying until they have an issue, right? Because the people online, they're not saying, "Hey, did you think of this?" Or they don't get to know the customer. So it's a very, you know, black and white transaction. There's no thinking down the line. And that's what we try to bring is, hey, just think about this issue. What about, did you know for an extra $4 you can buy this? Really? Okay, yeah, for $4. So they're not necessarily doing that online. And I think that's what you just try to develop a relationship. That's all.
No, I really like that. And I'm actually thinking from personal experience right now because, my mom passed away recently,
Mhm.
and I'm dealing with multiple life insurance companies because they had policies. My parents had policies with different companies. And here I'm not dealing with a broker, I'm dealing with the companies directly, but the experience of submitting a claim from one company versus the next is unbelievably different. One company submitted it, processed, sent me a nice letter, with condolences, and here's your check. The other company has sent me the same paperwork to fill out 8 times, and I've sent them the death certificate multiple times. And every time I do that, I'm rethinking why I'm doing this, so it makes it an even more negative experience. And I would never use this company again because of their claims process. But if I'm just dealing with the vending machine or now the online site, then I may have no idea what the experience is going to be like when I actually need service.
Mhm.
And I think for a lot of businesses today they're seeing their industries go through digital transformation. How do you compete against that? How do you convince customers up front that it's not all about the price? How do you do that, Jim? How do you talk about the service and what they're going to have in the back end? Because if you're bashing the competition, that's no way to make a sale. But at the same time, if you're not raising awareness, your customer can make a big mistake.
Yeah, so one of the things that I constantly talk about is we try to find the right carrier as a broker. We try to find the right carrier that matches up well with the type of client that we have. And I tell them all the time, the carriers all specialize in certain things. They may not come right out and tell you that. That's what we know. So we know what they do well. So we know if a particular carrier writes contractors, for example. Now they might not want to write all contractors, only certain kinds. So we definitely steer them in the right direction. How do the carrier react for claims? That's the other thing is a lot of times you have a customer who's paid thousands of dollars in premiums for years and has never had a claim. So to them, all they see it is just writing a check. And you just have to convince them that there is at some point in time you may have one, and you need to be with the right company that's going to respond to what you need, because not everybody's looking for the same thing. What's also interesting is when I'm dealing with, now all business owners, right? They're entrepreneurs. They're all risk takers because they're getting into business. Some are bigger risk takers than others. So it's just interesting dealing with different types of business owners and how they want things covered. Some want the biggest deductible we can find. They will self-insure as much as possible. And then you have other people that really want to make sure every single thing is covered. So it's just interesting.
You made me think of a question, and if you think about the entrepreneurs that you serve, where do entrepreneurs tend to underinsure themselves or their businesses?
Um, I I don't know if it's that they underinsure, but I don't think they always think of what is covered and what they need. I think they just they get into business, and I don't think they think of all those things that could cause an issue and shut them down for a period of time, and what's going to happen at that point. Like, what keeps you up at night? So, like, a lot of times I ask a lot of questions, just talk to people about their business. I don't even get into insurance stuff. I just want to know about the business, and so I can understand what it is they do, what the problems are, what the issues are, what happens if something happens at their office, warehouse, plant, you know, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I will, for everybody listening, I will give a plug for Jim's industry, because in our business, I'm exactly what Jim's talking about. I don't know what all my coverage is about. I don't know what exactly the things are that I can claim. And we had an HR issue that we had to get an attorney to deal with. We weren't, nothing happened in terms of a claim that came against us, but we just had to deal with the attorney to make sure we were protected. And the attorney asked the question, do you have this kind of coverage? And I said, I don't know. And then we found out, and like, no, you didn't. And the attorney said, well, that's too bad, because everything we were doing would have been paid for. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
So I think for a lot of business owners, you're thinking about, how do I drive sales? How do I do product delivery?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make sure that we provide great back-end customer support? But that risk mitigation, which entrepreneurs should be really good at, talk to your insurance agent about what you don't know, because you don't want that nasty surprise somewhere down the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about your transition, because you may be the only person we're going to have on the show. I don't know if anybody else has gone through working for a company that they ended up acquiring. So tell us a little bit about the experience of going from, young employee, second job out of college, to CEO.
So it was, looking back at it, I didn't realize it at the time. But I turned out to be Paul's pre-retirement plan. So he was trying to grow the agency, and he was probably at the time a little bit younger than I am right now. And he had the foresight to know that he needed a couple of people in the office to kind of run different departments. And he brought me in to kind of lead the charge of increasing sales to the business and commercial clients. And after a couple of years of doing it, and it was tough. That's what I kind of tell people a lot. It wasn't an easy business at all to get established in. But once I did, I knew something was going the right way when my first year that I received a bonus. It was a stock bonus. So, not really knowing what he's doing, he was kind of trying to put some handcuffs on me to keep me in the fold, so to speak. And then it just got to a certain point where he approached me and another and um, offered us to buy a portion of his stock. And we slowly nibbled up to, I forget what it was, but let's just call it, we nibbled up to about 45 or 49% ownership. And then it kind of stopped until he was ready. And then we basically bought the rest of it out.
Western New York Entrepreneurs Unleashed is brought to you by Entrepreneurs Organization of Western New York. EO is a global peer-to-peer network of entrepreneurs with more than 18,000 worldwide members. Locally, our 52 members employ more than 1,800 people, and we have a median revenue of $2 million. EO was founded to help move the world forward by unlocking the full potential of entrepreneurs. And our goal is to enable transformational growth in the lives of our members. If you're an entrepreneur with a business generating at least $1 million in annual revenue, come see what EO is all about. Visit us online at eo-wny.com.
So what was it like going from senior manager to owner?
It was great. It was really good. Yeah, I mean, it was just a different feeling, like, yes, even though for a number of years we were kind of running the office per se and running the agency. But once that paperwork was signed, it was a totally different feeling. It was just maybe the difference between and then owning a house.
So did you feel more pressure or did you feel more relief when you became the majority owner?
I think it was a little of both. I think it was more of a relief that um, it was now ours and we could do with it, how we wanted. We didn't have somebody looking over our shoulder and commenting about how we were handling things, because there was always a time, we would have our quarterly meetings or annual meetings and Paul would question things and it was good. It was all, good stuff. But he would question what we were doing and why. And now it was really, he would still question, but this is what we're doing. We've decided to do it this way. And it was good.
From an owner's perspective, what was some of the hardest things about becoming CEO?
It's that, and I still am, but I'm in the trenches of the business per se, right? Dealing with clients and all that kind of stuff. So it's the insurance business, but then as the CEO, it's, overseeing the actual business of what we do. And so it's a different mindset. But it was also, incorporating the style, the type of culture that we wanted to have, how we acted out in the marketplace, who we attracted to join us. Those are the things that were that I kind of enjoyed working on.
Were there any issues related to people in the business who may have been very close to, very loyal to the former owner? And I mean, you'd worked there, so obviously they knew you, but now it's okay, Jim's name's on the paycheck and it's a different relationship. Did you have any of those kind of issues or did everything go smoothly?
I really can't think of a time. I think it went pretty smoothly because I think we had good relationships with everybody in the office. I think they kind of knew that's where it was headed. Yes, I think it went kind of smooth.
Excellent.
It wasn't a shock. It wasn't like, some late Friday afternoon, this announcement came out. I think people knew this was the way it was going. Yeah.
And now as an owner, you do have a partner. And for a lot of business owners, that's a decision is, do I take on partners or not? What do you say are the pros and cons of having a partner in business?
Lori, my partner, is great. because she does the things that I don't do well, she does them very well. So, she handles all or, a big portion of all the day-to-day stuff that keeps the office running. So our agency management system, um, a lot of that kind of stuff during the day that needs to get done, she takes care of it and does a great job.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Um, my business partner, as you know, is my significant other. And so having distinct roles is what makes it work for us too, and complementing each other on what we're both good at and not so good at makes a huge impact. All right, let's break away from work for a minute and beyond your professional life. I know that you are still lacing up your skates
Yep.
and playing some hockey. You are a travel lover and a wine connoisseur. So let's start first. What keeps you on the ice? Because most people our age will not put skates on anymore.
I just grew up playing hockey, ever since for those of you in the Western New York, when the Boulevard Twin Rinks were built on Niagara Falls Boulevard, I just knew that I wanted to try that. So I tried it right away after they opened. I was probably 7 at the time, and I haven't stopped playing since.
Yeah,
It's just a great, like now it's not about, it's still about playing and getting out. But as I kid with one of my neighbors, it's all about the locker room now. It's about, just getting together with a good group of guys, going and playing a little hockey, talking, having a beer afterwards with them,
Yeah, and a lot of it, because I'm sort of the same, although I did not play as a kid, I took it up later in life, is that just not giving up on your passions keeps you young. And it gives you something every weekend to look forward to, and then every Monday to complain about just how badly I played the day before. All right, but let's get to the important stuff.
Yeah.
So travel and wine. I know I did see before we turned the camera on, there was a glass of something white there. So I'm guessing today's Chardonnay.
Little, glass of Chardonnay.
So how did you develop this love of wine?
I think right after we got married in 1990. And I don't know how we got started, but maybe, we were adulting, as they say these days. And we just started trying different wine. And, we kind of look back at what we like to drink now. And, having that bottle or that box of white Zinfandel we used to have in the fridge when we first started out. Oof, now I'd make fun of myself. But we just did. And I'll give some credit to my sister. I'm trying to think. It was probably around 96 or something like that. My sister was living in San Francisco at the time, came home for the holidays and gifted Kath and I a bottle of Napa Cab. And we sat on it for a little while and opened it up for dinner. And that was our, that's what sold us. That was our epiphany. And we were like, wow. And we went out to Napa for our 10th anniversary, and that really kind of from like a vacation wine, that we just got into it. I don't use the word connoisseur. I'm a drinker, just a wine drinker.
All right, fair enough. How big is the wine cellar now?
Yeah, it's a cellar. It's not a fancy cellar. It's just a basement with boxes of wine in it.
All right. So for our listeners, any tips you want to give? Any favorites that they should go check out?
Well, I think it's like anything else. Drink what you like, because what I like isn't necessarily what you like or anybody else. But like people will stick their noses up at Chardonnay because Chardonnay for a while got to be one of those, badly done or overdone ones that were cheap at weddings and stuff like that. But if you find a really good one, they're delicious. They're great. It's just like finding, your best beer or, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We were actually on an EO event. It was a river cruise over in Germany, and they went to a lot of wineries. And in one of the wineries, this guy came in and he started doing the very snobby tasting. And then he basically said, "This is all crap." And he goes, "Don't ask me what I like, because my tongue's not your tongue." He goes, I'm the 5th generation in this winery, and what I like is delicious to me.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a bunch of things. You figure out what you like. And that's
Right.
really good wine because you like it. And I love that story. I love that explanation. When I went out to California and they tried to tell me all the stories about why I should like certain things. I'm like, ew, that tastes terrible. That didn't work for me.
Yeah.
All right, one more on the
It's the same
personal.
thing. Just like people, there's some people that don't like dark beer or they don't like this, like I don't care for IPAs. That's just me. Now, if
And
you're a
me.
true beer guy, that's the way to go, is you got to be like your IPAs, but I just don't.
All right, now I've got one more thing on the personal
Okay.
side. So I asked you for permission to talk about this. So you do something very special for your spouse, and her birthday is a big event in your household. So it's not a birthday, it's a birth month, and her name is Kathy, and so her birthday's in October, and so you have the month of Cathtober. So
Half
for
total.
all of the people listening, whether you want to be on the giving or receiving end, Jim, tell us about the event that is Cathtober and how that came to be.
Well, Dave, it started just like any small festival starts, it started as a birthday. And then somehow it got into a long weekend, 2 weekends. And then somehow she got Kath in October, blended it together. It just rolled off the tongue as Kathtober. And then it just kind of somehow it got into a whole month-long festival. Yeah. It's a stressful festival, at least for me, as
You
the
set the bar
festival
high.
yeah, because I'm the festival organizer. So there's a lot of prep, that type of thing.
Anything coming up for this year? You can't say anything just in case this might be heard.
No, I can't. We try to slowly break those things out, But I will say, like that we have fun with it. There, and there's times like if there isn't something planned, then it gets to be a little confrontational. But a couple of years ago, I had no idea what to do. We've been married for a while. We've done the gifts, and I did a cameo with one of the cooks on TV, which he hit it out of the park, and I went on and got Kathtober.com, which she just thought was great. But now I'm not sure what to do. It's been 4 years of that, and I'm like, okay, if I don't re-up the renewal, what happens to the site? What happens to the pictures and things we put on there? Because I think it's kind of run its course a little bit with the website. But
Time for the website makeover. All right. Well, I just wanted to talk about that stuff because a lot of times on the show we focus all on the business side, and one of the things that I've admired about you is your family relationships. I mentioned the business relationships, but being an entrepreneur is about the whole person, and that's part of EO. And you actually one of our most tenured EO Western New York members. So I'd like to talk a little bit about EO Western New York and what made you join, and after all these years, what do you continue to get out of it?
well, I joined sight unseen, like literally knew nothing about EO. So as a really good fellow member, Brian Bro, was a really good longtime friend of mine before I joined EO. He was in EO because of his ownership of a couple of businesses. And when we bought the agency, he approached me one day and said, "Hey, you've heard me talk a lot about this group that I'm very passionate about." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I think you should join it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What do I do?" And he invited me to a meet and greet and handed me a form and said, "Fill it out and give me your credit card." And I literally did that. And that's how I joined. I knew nothing about the organization, nothing. It was all based on trust.
But you've been a member a long time. So
Yeah.
what have you gotten out of being part of the organization?
Um, well, I think it's definitely an organization, my experience anyway, it's an organization that you definitely get more out of it the more that you put into it. So I think if you just want to be a member, fringe member, pay your dues, go to a couple of things, that's okay. But I think if you really get involved in the organization and you get to meet more and more people in the organization, so your fellow chapter mates, your forum mates, but get to know more people in EO throughout the country and throughout the world, it's just a great organization. I find, for the most part, I'd like to think that being good people is one of the things you need to be in order to be successful. I know there's a lot of successful people out there that have bad reputations and so forth. But I think being a good person, and I think most of the people in EO are helpful, because they probably needed some help along the way to do what they're doing. And they like to give back, like, help people out with something. If they've got questions for you, help them out. So it's just the experiences that I've had, but more importantly, the people that I've met and become friends with in the organization, it's priceless.
No, it's fantastic. And you mentioned something, there's local events, there's regional events, there's global events, and there are now 18,000 entrepreneurs in this organization around the world. And literally you can go to a city virtually anywhere on planet Earth, and you go online and say, hey, I'm going to be in this city. Are there any EO members that want to get together for a drink or dinner? And a whole bunch of people will pipe up saying, yeah, we'd love to meet you. And it's just a great way to have new experiences. So I'm not doing this podcast, been a member for 6 years. I've obviously drank the Kool-Aid, but I also, can't say enough about the value of being part of an organization which gives you so much support. And I wanted to second what you said, but you only get out of it what you put into it. So if you don't participate, you just show up at forum meetings with your group, that's great. You'll have this group of 6 or 8 people. But when you expand to that network of 18,000, there's just so many resources to help you deal with situations, take your business new directions, and learn, whether that learning is on the business side or you're on the personal side. Now, there are definitely wine drinkers that are part of the group. I know Vicky's part of a biohacking group that she gets amazing advice to, I don't know, it makes me eat healthier, so I don't know if I really like it that much, but amazing advice to live a better lifestyle. So lots of good stuff. All right, I have one final question. So I don't know how many people we'll have that are listening to the podcast that may be soon to be entrepreneurs, that are managers, or maybe there's owners that are thinking about selling to managers. If someone's looking to make that leap from manager to owner, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
The one thing that I would give them is to make sure they have a good support group. Because as a manager and not being an owner, maybe you might have some work stress, but just as being a manager, right, you can go home and just forget about it. As an owner, you just can't. You just don't. And I think you need to have that core little group of advisors that you can reach out to whenever and ask for help, ask for advice, run through things that are going on, and and just get good feedback, because you're going to need help. Not every day is a great day. You're going to have some. I just earlier this year just got hit with a scenario that I've never been thrown at, and it just ate me up for 2 days until I was able to talk to a couple of EOers and able to put some kind of a plan together to fix it.
Fantastic. All right, Jim, I think we didn't mention at the beginning, so shame on me. Your organization, Niagara National, provides insurance businesses in Western New York. So if somebody has a question, wants to do that analysis to find out what they really are insured for, just wants to meet you and talk more, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is just to give me a phone call. Yep, at the office, cell. And if you just have a question in general, just ask the question. Be more than happy just to give free advice. That's what we do.
Fantastic. Well, Jim, thank you so much. I really appreciate your taking part on this episode of Western New York Entrepreneurs Unleashed. It's been a great chat.
Great. David, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. You made it very comfortable. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Western New York Entrepreneurs Unleashed, and another inspiring story from a local business leader who scaled their company. If you are ready to take your business to new heights and eager to embrace transformative growth, then don't miss our future episodes. Subscribe to this podcast today and be part of our community of leaders, builders, and change makers. Together, we're committed to moving the world forward by unlocking the full potential of entrepreneurs, one success story at a time. Brought to you by Entrepreneurs Organization of Western New York,